what I do is set it up inside Google Classroom, a big one, purposefully because you have to log into your account to be you. Part of it is, I trust all of you, but I have had in the past where some people do all the work and some do no work. You have to show evidence by editing documents with your name on. When I hit on the history of a document and your name's not on it, you can't use it. So you have to be engaged in every document with your peer. Then you're allowed to use it in your portfolio because you may only know a little bit of it, but you're part of that document. So some of you do a lot of some document, talking with your peers. Other times you might just do little edits, but you're always engaged in every document. Make sense? Then you co-own it. You can't rely on someone else. So all your planning is now located that you're going to do for this inside, and I put it in the assignment. So if you look on week 1, this is how you start off. And I go down the bottom here, I've actually put your group assignments here, and I give you all a nice little color, right? And you can click on that, and you can log into that account. So what you do is log in, you know, so if I was Joe or Brett, I could log in here, right? And then in your group, once you log in, you're going to put your name on 1, 2, or 3. And that means that you oversee that particular folder. With a pair, you can just divide up the additional resources as well. So you're in charge of that aspect. Good? In a pair, they will just decide between the two of them. So you can share responsibility for one folder and then you're in charge of the other. When you go in, you'll notice I put in these are anticipation. Now, I quite like what Lindsay did, and she modified the lesson plan to make it work for her, and I'm happy with that modification. She did it slightly different, and it worked really well. As I said to you, lesson plan components need to be there, visuals need to be there, but you can move it around and change it to suit you, especially when you feel how for you to scan when you want to scan it. Every lesson, every activity will have a task progression, right? You have got to get good at writing task progressions. Task progressions are content that will transfer from class to class to class to class. You take a task progression, and next time you see a different class, you take that content and you modify it. But you get good at thinking, what's a good progression for this type of game to focus on this type of skill? And to help you, I put in little headings here. However, I'm also willing, so that's why I put you other formats of task progression. If you don't want to use that structure, you can do the one I did for dance, right? Right? So basically you're thinking about how to write your content, not thinking about the students until you get to the lesson plan where you think, okay, I'm going to take my content now, my task progression, I can copy and paste some of it in, but I'm going to now build my lesson with my good warm-up, with my intro game or activity that sets the scene, my progression that helps them understand it better. And you might have 2 task progressions going on in one lesson, and then you repeat another one in the next class, and then another task progression. A lot of teaching is recursive. It's not linear and blocks. It's revisiting and extending. That's the best learning. Is a teacher assessment chart. I love this assignment. It's become my best thing I've invented during COVID. Right? As you start to think about your learning domains, you start writing them out. Then you can start saying, what does it look like for Johnny, for Erin, for Riley in the lesson? And you're going to start putting comments into those learning domains based on your descriptions you put at the top here. And these will keep refining and getting developed, right? But what you are doing is identifying kids that are succeeding and not succeeding, or kids who can't even remember what happened in the lesson. By doing this over 4 lessons, this will be full for every single kid, right? Because you start to identify their growth and development. And when Erin has to talk to parents who come in, she'll have a chart like this and go, oh yeah, Riley started off really struggling in social groups, but at the end, she was really good. I noticed that she was captain of, right? And she can give events that charts the growth of that student in her class to the parent. The other part of this one, this is the one that will give you the most difficulty, but that's expected, is what's the content analysis? So you've got to figure out concepts and skill. What's the understanding that's making the skill make sense, right? They're the 2 things. How to show sports personship, you know, sport playership, how to be a good sport. All these are concepts that you're trying to help kids. And these are all things that this core competencies are getting at. And what you'll find is that content analysis start to grow as you start to realize what kids need. And by the time you finish this 4 lesson, you better write a really good content analysis, and then you'll do that last form there, complete the PDP unit thing, which is a framework that you hear when you go out to practicum that you have to fit it. So I want you to feed it into that to understand how to connect it to that visual document that passes you on the real practicum. The thing I go to look for all the time is this one. I want to see the visuals. And what I love about all the units you'll go and see online is they've got great visuals. Jenna's group's got a great visual of Rock Heights Gym because they've actually made the sides of the walls look good, right? They thought about the spaces. This is not Rock Heights, this is another school, but notice I'm really trying to get the dimensions clear, where things are, so I know how to use those spaces. When I look at this, I can see a space between the two courts. I can make a court there, right? And if I go the other way, I can go 1, 2, 3, I'm thinking courts all the time, right? This is my planning guide. A court here, I've got a court here, I've got a court here, I can divide this in half, a court here, right? I can make freaking, basically 32 kids play games if I lose the space appropriately. Don't just stick to this one, kids sitting outside. You look so impressive when you're in interviews with Erin or any principal and you've got a plan, you've got kids around it, and you can tell what happened. You look so impressive, right?
Yeah. Because
you've really taken details on board, not just doing skips. This is the description of what you're doing. This is answering Megan's question. Exactly. This is the submission that you will be doing. So by Friday, you'll have these things in a format that I can look at and give response to. Your group. And now you've got to decide who's the brave one who's going to be the leader teacher for the first lesson. Because when you go out there in group of 3, one of you is going to teach who leads. The other one's going to assist. The third one is going to really work on the assessment and talking to the teacher. That, talking to the teacher like Erin, so why is Ryan such a right? There's issues with that, right? You find out by talking to the teacher who knows his kids really well, right? And basically you can start using that as a client making notes on their assessment because their progress is probably different to other kids' progress. But you can still mark it, right? And in fact, we had a good record from the past with students. The first class that Taylor did, I went and took a kid's cap off, like Brett, because he was throwing it around, and the kid stormed out of the gym. And the teacher said, yeah, it's taking a week to get him in the gym. I went, but by the end of the 4 lessons with the iPad, that kid was running the team. Taylor got that kid totally on board, right? And so that was a transformation for him, right? That's what we're after. So you're going to sign on this form today. Who's going to lead? Who's going to assist? Who's going to set? And then next week that will rotate. Someone else will lead second lesson, someone else, right? And then by the 3rd lesson, each of you will have led a lesson. Got it? So when you look on the side, when I say submission links, I mean, when you've got it ready, it's really good for me, and Riley and Max did this, if they go and hyperlink to that in their document. Hyperlink to each of these, and then submit this document to me. Makes it so easy to go click and right, rather than going searching in the folder.